Discussions of local politics, events, happenings, and miscellany potpourri. Ken's Den, Tuesday, 8 to 10. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Good morning, everyone. This is Mark Auerbach with Arts Beat Radio this Wednesday morning here on 89.5 FM WSKB. We've got a great show for you today. The music that you're hearing as we're kind of ramping up is from Adam Schoenberg's American Symphony. Adam Schoenberg is a Western Massachusetts composer who's made his mark in classical music and in movies. He's the son of the improvisational pianist and composer Stephen Schoenberg, who grew up in Long Meadow. And Adam's work will be one of the pieces of music featured on the 75th anniversary season of the Springfield Symphony Orchestra. Later in the program, we'll be talking with Maestro Kevin Rhodes. We'll be talking with the actor and musician James Barry. But we're starting the program this morning with a chat about North Hall in Huntington with Perry Sussaman, who's on the line. Good morning, Perry.
Good morning, Mark.
For a lot of us don't really know much about North Hall or Huntington, and you're really just down the road a bit, as they say. So tell me what North Hall is and how you got an arts festival going there, because you've had it for quite a long time.
Yes. I'll give you a little background. So the North Hall Arts Festival takes place in the North Hall, which was built as a schoolhouse in 1795, one of the original one-room schoolhouses in the town. And it was referred to as the North School because it was actually Norwich at the time, before Huntington was incorporated. It was a one-room schoolhouse, and sometime in the 1800s, an addition of an upstairs meeting hall was added. So the school was held in that original schoolroom until 1934. And since that time, it's been mainly used as a community building. It's owned by the town of Huntington, and it is known now as the North Hall. To go back a little bit, in 1900, the North Hall Association was formed even though there was a school going on in there, and because there was this performance space up on the second floor, the association was formed by residents of Norwich Hill, and to foster support and community use. It included dances, holiday events, fairs, poetry readings, plays, and musical concerts. Although the building is presently about 4 times its original size, you can still see the original building, the beams from the one-room schoolhouse, which now houses what we call the schoolroom gallery. So this, as a community and as a community organization, you know, these things over the years, they wax and wane, and it just depends because it's all volunteer. So it depends on how many people get involved. And there, as I said, there have been many things, but the building started to deteriorate. It got some revitalization through a community block grant in the year 2000. And people really wanted to start using it again. so a fund was formed in memory of Jane Gatenby Herring, who actually attended school there. And when she passed away in 1984, the organization decided to have a Jane Gatenby Fund to help restore the building, help bring music and education back to the building. So that's kind of how it all evolved.
You have a very...
It evolved even further in about the year 2010, just about 9 years ago, when we decided to actually formalize an event, a festival. And it goes from Memorial Day weekend to September, in mid-September. And that's pretty much how it goes. So for the last 9 years, it's grown, and we have had some wonderful performances, some exhibitions, some many musical events, theater, and it just keeps on going.
Who puts the programming together? Do you have a committee, or do you do it?
No, the program, it's a real collaborative process. We have a board of about, I think, 21 members, and we each bring to the table our own interests, and so it's a process. It's a process that collaborative process where oftentimes we are approached by a group, a performance group, or someone who wants to do a special program at North Hall. Sometimes a board member or two may have been to a concert that they think is appropriate for North Hall. And so we usually vet whomever we are considering, and that usually means we ask for performer schedules and try to attend their performance and see, is this going to be okay for North Hall, for our audiences, and for the size of our space.
How large a theater is North Hall? How many seats?
Well, it's an intimate space, so we can seat in the performance space that's on the second floor, just about 80 people. Sometimes we've run over into standing room only, but we try not to do that. So it's a small space, and musicians love it because it really and truly is an intimate experience. You're sitting there, and most performers don't need microphones. They don't need the electronics because the acoustics in that upper performance space is wonderful, and musicians always want to come back.
I've heard musicians that have performed there say that acoustically it's a beautiful space, and that it's very intimate. It's like performing in somebody's living room.
Right. It is. And actually, for any kind of chamber music, and you think about it, that's how it was performed 100 years ago in somebody's living room, where you can actually see all those performers up close. And actually, one of our board members who used to sit in the second row and do sketches of all the performers. It was really quite a wonderful thing that we have that we then post in downstairs on the first floor.
Now you have quite the mix. You open with opera, and you've got some of the Neville family who are known for their jazz, their New Orleans style jazz. And it's sad to say that the patriarch of the family, Charles Neville, passed away not that long ago. But the Nevilles that are performing, are they his children or grandchildren?
They're his children.
Okay.
Yes. So Khalif was born, I believe, in Louisiana, but they moved up here. That's the one interesting thing about Huntington. This is a part with the opera and sometimes other things in some performers that they are connected in some way to Huntington. So they may live in New York City or New Orleans or someplace else, but they either have family here or a summer house here, and it's really kind of interesting. So anyhow, when Khalif when Charles and Kristen, his wife, moved up, because Kristen is a Gatenby, when they moved back to Huntington, the boys grew up here in Western Mass and Northampton, Huntington, and then studied music with their father. Great teacher.
You also have theater, and the actors and some of the performers have done shows there many times in the past. But you've got a mix of that. You've got jazz. You've got some chamber music. You've got Dave Sporney from UMass, who is a horn player. And I believe this is his first time on the North Hall roster.
No, he was here quite a number of years ago with two of his friends, two other experienced old-timers with stellar careers in music. And I am sorry that I cannot remember their names. But it was quite a few years ago. It was at least 5 years ago. They called themselves the Porch Trio.
That's right. That's right. I recall them for that. As we're talking about this, you should give us the website and the telephone number for people to call for information, because I'm sure as they're listening to what we're talking about, they'll be interested in looking at the entire season in one place.
Sure. And in fact, when we talk, and I will be glad to answer your questions about some of the programs, that we try to put as much information on the website as possible. So, but usually biographies, the bios of the actors and the musicians usually are then put on the website so that you can see a detailed view of all their accomplishments and where they've studied, and it's kind of good to know where else they've played.
And what is the website?
So the website is northhallhuntington.org.
Okay.
And it is all one word, no spaces in between, just the way you would spell North Hall Huntington.
northhallhuntington.org.
That is correct.
If you come up to North Hall for a performance, are there places to eat nearby, or can you picnic?
Yeah, well, sometimes people will picnic in the little parking area. Parking is limited, but there is a little space. But most places to eat, I would suggest that there is the Rapids restaurant right on Route 112, which is really nice because it's right on the Westfield River. I believe that's the East Branch of the Westfield River. And there's also in town, we have a place right off of Route 112. There's just a Gino's Pizzeria. And then back in kind of right off Route 20 in the center of town, right off the town common, is the Comfort Kitchen, which has good home-style food.
When did you personally get involved in North Hall's festival?
Well, I've been involved with North Hall since way back, since we moved to Huntington. That's 41 years ago. but it was very informal. I mean, people did things. We had haunted houses. There were Christmas fairs. There were things. There was a opera, and there were some plays that were performed, but it was pretty informal. And it really wasn't until around 2009 that the board gathered more board members and decided they really wanted to formalize the process. That was the dream, actually, and the vision of the late Ruth Pardo, who, when she retired from her job, returned back to Huntington, and she and her husband did a lot of work on the North Hall, but she always felt it was an important place to bring music and theater to the community. And so she was president at the time, in 2009. And that's how it all kind of started, as a formal arts festival.
Who are the people that are participating in this in terms of audience? Are they the townspeople in Huntington, or is the festival drawing people from the Berkshires and Springfield and the surrounding areas?
Well, it's a mixed bag. Because we are so eclectic, and that was an important choice that the board made, to not compete with other festivals in the area, in Plainfield and in Northampton, where either they're the classical or they're rock or they're folk. We felt that the inhabitants of the hill towns are an eclectic mix of people and have very different tastes. So we decided to keep it eclectic, and we have audiences that, they have a choice. They can either hear classical music or brass, Amherst Jazz Orchestra members, or they can hear opera, or we've had Celtic bands, we've had, and we have Old Country Road that's a cross between old vintage country and some bluegrass. So,
as
a result of that, we have people from the town and the hill towns, and from the larger community. We've had people who've come here from Wilbraham, or we have people come from Connecticut. So that's a really wide range of audience members.
Okay, one last question before we go. And again, it's northhallhuntington.org for a list of all the programs. It kicks off next weekend with a Memorial Day weekend with opera.
Yes.
And for all the years that you've been working with North Hall, is there one performance that was your favorite, or are they all your favorites?
Oh, that's a hard question. I love the opera because that's not very easily available in this area. So that's an important one for me. But then I like all kinds of music, so that's hard for me to make a pitch for one particular kind.
Do people need to buy tickets in advance, or can they just show up?
No, they just show up. We don't take reservations. We just don't have the capacity to sell tickets online or anything of that nature. It's basically tickets are at the door.
That's terrific. Perry, thank you so much for joining us. We've been talking with Perry Soseman from the North Hall Festival in Huntington, Massachusetts. And if you're not, it's just west of Westfield, up Route 20, and in the foothills of the Berkshires. A great program that kicks off Memorial Day weekend. Perry, thanks for joining us. We're going to be taking a break for some underwriting announcements, but before we do, Artsbeat Radio goes back to a weekly format beginning a week from Friday. We're going to start on Memorial Day weekend. We'll be on Friday mornings from 8 to 9 indefinitely. at this point. And Peter Coles, our trusty engineer here, and I got some good plans going. We're going to go with Patrick Berry and his show, the Westfield News Show, up to the Berkshire Theater Group this summer. We're going to be taping a 2-hour program that you'll hear both on the Westfield News program and Artsbeat Radio about the 90th anniversary season of Berkshire Theater Group. And they're doing some great programs, so we're kind of excited about that. And Jay Pagluca, who will be having his radio show before mine on Friday mornings. Jay and Peter and I are going to Cranwell. In July, we're going to do a 2-hour special with the political satire group, The Capitol Steps, which we'll be bringing to you this summer. But hopefully during the course of the summer, we're going to be bringing you some fascinating people that are involved in the arts here in Western New England. And up and coming, you'll get to meet Graham Rowett, who is the star of Church and State at Berkshire Theater Group. Kristen Van Ginhoven from Wham Theater will be back to chat with us. Daniel Elihu Kramer, who's the artistic director of the Chester Theater Company, will be here. And hopefully many of the other actors, designers, directors, and what I'm really kind of excited about is David Lutkin, who plays Will Rogers in the Will Rogers Follies, is going to be joining us early in June. So make sure that you make it a point to tune in on Friday mornings from 8 to 9, beginning Friday, May 25th for Artsbeat Radio. We're going to take an underwriter announcement break here to thank the people that make community radio possible here on 89.5 FM WSKB. And then we'll be back with Kevin Rhodes, the maestro of the Springfield Symphony Orchestra, which later today will announce its 75th anniversary season. So don't go away.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Commercial Distributing Company of Westfield. Now in its third generation of family ownership, Commercial is one of the premier beverage distributors of Western Massachusetts. The Plasek family and the staff of Commercial Distributing wishes you good times throughout the year and urges you to drink responsibly. Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
Discussions of local politics, events, happenings, and miscellany potpourri. That's what you'll find on Ken's Den, Tuesdays from 8 till 10.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Welcome back, everyone, to Artsbeat Radio. I'm Mark Auerbach with Peter Coles here in the studio at 89.5 FM WSKB. Joining us on the phone right now is Kevin Rhodes, who's the maestro of the Springfield Symphony Orchestra, and he's had a really great spring. He just closed out the 40th anniversary of the Pro Art Chamber Orchestra in Boston. This Saturday night at Springfield Symphony Hall, it's an all Rachmaninoff program, ending the Springfield Symphony's current season. And Kevin conducts that, and then he goes back to Europe, to Vienna, where he'll be conducting a program at the Vienna State Opera Ballet of British choreographers, and then the Rudolf Nureyev Gala, which is one of the most important dance events in Europe, and that's at the end of June. So, Kevin, thanks for taking some time this morning to chat with us.
Good morning. Good morning. Actually, and you left one thing out, and that is before I go back to Europe, I'm going to go out to Michigan and close out the season of the Traverse Symphony Orchestra out there.
I was going to say, you forgot Traverse City. I was like, that didn't get mentioned anywhere.
Right. I am finishing everybody up in the next months, in the next weeks. So it's like my grand farewell tour, except I'm going to come back. I'm not saying
except you're coming back.
Exactly.
I know later this afternoon you're announcing the 75th anniversary season of the Springfield Symphony. And first of all, in historical perspective, 75 years is a real milestone for orchestras in this country, correct?
Oh, well, certainly. I mean, it really, there are very few orchestras at all who can trace their roots back to the 19th century. So for the most part, most orchestras are 20th century developments in most towns, what makes logical sense, the growth of the country. And that we have one here in Springfield that is 75 years young and is as really incredible as this orchestra is really just an amazing thing, no doubt about it.
Can you share maybe one or two of the programs for next year that you're going to announce later today?
Oh my gosh, I think I'm kind of sworn not to. But I might be able to give clues.
Well, I gave a clue at the opening of the... I actually don't know the season except for one or two things, but I gave a clue at the beginning of the program when I played a bit of Adam Schoenberg's American Symphony that he recorded with the Amarillo Symphony a couple of years ago.
Well, okay, very good, very good. I was going to say there is, let's see, the old saying about what is it for a wedding? What's the saying for a wedding? The 3-part thing you need for a wedding, right?
You're asking
something old, something
new, something borrowed, something blue.
Yeah.
All right. Now, the last one of those we might take as a clue to something that's going to happen next season.
Maybe something rhapsodic?
That's all I can say. If you were thinking something rhapsodic, maybe you wouldn't be entirely incorrect.
Okay, so when you're going to make this announcement this afternoon, and it's going to be in the media, when will people be able to get a glimpse of it on your website?
Oh my gosh, what an excellent question! I believe I'm gonna go out on a limb here because I know we're doing this presentation this weekend, and I believe subscribers will get their brochures. I believe that's all timed to happen on Friday. So I would assume the website gods have themselves organized for it to also be out there on Friday. But I have to admit, I did not speak to the website gods this morning to know the answer to that question. So
well, at least the website gods have a little bit of information about this Saturday's concert, and it's an all Rachmaninoff concert.
Oh my gosh, it is, absolutely.
Now, you've conducted Rachmaninoff a lot in your career, and I believe that you've either done it in Traverse or it's happening in Traverse. What about this composer appeals to you?
Well, there is an amazing what's a good word to use for it? Expression rather. Rachmaninoff has an amazing, dramatic, heart on sleeve sort of music that it's just always attracted me from the time I was a little kid. And got my first pieces of Rachmaninoff to play and for piano lessons. There's just something about the way he puts notes together, whether it's an incredibly beautiful melody, whether it's an amazingly rhythmic, exciting passage building to some incredible climax, whether it's the way he builds up these waves of sound over long periods of time that eventually just climax in this amazing world of beauty and color. oh my gosh, I could talk on like this to describe what are the things that I love about Rachmaninoff. And several of the pieces that we're playing this weekend, well, actually, the two main pieces that we're playing this weekend, these were some of my early favorites of Rachmaninoff. His symphonic dances for orchestra, the last piece he wrote right near the end of his life. And a few years before that, he wrote the Rhapsody on a Theme of Paganini for piano and orchestra, sort of his last piano concerto. And that is also, oh my gosh, what a powerhouse of a piece.
Yeah, you really are so lucky in the fact that you get to conduct and approach so many different composers over the course of a season, not only on the concert stage, but ballet and in opera. I know that when you go back to Europe next month, that you'll be conducting a series of ballets that were choreographed by major British choreographers. And one of them is the ballet Marguerite and Armand, which the public knows because it was created for the leading ballerina of the 1960s, Margot Fonteyn, who was introduced to a young Russian dancer who had defected, and this was a ballet created for the two of them to perform in, and it hasn't been seen much or performed much since Nureyev died and Margot Fonteyn retired. And then at the Vienna at the Nureyev Gala, you'll be performing all kinds of ballet repertoire associated with him.
Yeah. Well, this yearly gala that we have at the end of the season in Vienna, which now I'm doing for the I don't know how many time, is at least a 4-hour affair. It is a big, huge evening, and with the music, the musical selections are. As I have off the top of my head, actually we have a lot of Russian. We have some Shostakovich. We of course have Tchaikovsky. We have of course some Glazunov. We also have Stravinsky. I know that there's going to be certainly some Minkos. But I mean, it's like I say, it's just an amazing marathon tour de force. These big end of the season galas in Vienna. And it's always a fun stamina night for us downstairs in the pit.
And you told me recently, and it's been announced, that you will be conducting, going back to Vienna to conduct a new production of a ballet that's not very often seen, and it's called Sylvia, with music by Delibes, who wrote the music to Coppelia. When will you start getting involved in this production?
Well, actually, now in June when I'm there, we'll be making some finalization decisions on what music will all entirely be used, what will be cut. Maybe we pull something out of some other piece and put it in there, and what the structure of the work is going to look like. This is a really fun ballet because usually you have your lead women in tutus and crowns, and Sylvia is the hunting gal, right? The hunting god, right? She with all of her other female charges. So instead of tutus, they're in sort of this like Greek sort of diaphanous clothes with arrows and whatever, and there's fantastic horn calls and all kinds of stuff in this piece. It's got a wonderful mythological context and content to it, but the music is absolutely fabulous. I have to admit, I was only familiar with a number or two from the piece before being asked to do it, and it's an amazing score. Much more Wagner-like in many times than Coppelia and whatever. So it's going to be a real rich experience. And then with the Vienna Phil playing in the pit and their guys as the Vienna State Opera Orchestra, that's really going to be quite exciting.
And when does this production open?
It opens. It must be the very beginning of November. Yeah.
And how long will you have to rehearse it? Will you have more?
Probably. I'm not. I can't remember exactly. Maybe 2 or 3 weeks, something like this.
And will they give you more time with this because it's a new production than they do when you you jump in to do Raymonda or the Nutcracker or Romeo and Juliet?
Perhaps. Perhaps just a little bit. Just a little bit. It still is definitely a work not for the faint of heart, because the rehearsal time is always extremely limited, both with the orchestra and actual rehearsal time in the theater on the stage, even for something which is new. So it's definitely an occasion where you just have to really you have to know your craft and your material really well to pull it together in the brief amount of time.
Hey, Kevin, I think your phone is dying again.
Well, it very well may be.
We had this problem the last time, and I thought it was us, and it was his cordless phone that was dying.
Well, we have to say that while we're talking with Kevin Rhodes, if you're interested in finding out about this weekend's Rachmaninoff performance with the pianist Misha Dichter at Symphony Hall in Springfield on Saturday night, you can either call their box office at 413-733-2291 or go to the Springfield Symphony Orchestra's website at springfieldsymphony.org. And probably later today or in the next couple of days, the upcoming 75th anniversary season will be announced and on the website, so you can take a chance and look at that. If you go to Facebook and you find Kevin Rhodes Conductor, or you'll get an opportunity to see some of the information about what Kevin's conducting in Vienna, in Traverse City, and the Pro Art Chamber Orchestra and the Springfield Symphony Orchestra. Kevin, do you get a vacation this summer?
I certainly plan on it. If anyone's looking for me the beginning of July, they're not going to find me.
And will you be ensconced somewhere listening to Sylvia on your headphones, or will you be listening to other things, or will you not be listening to music at all?
I imagine, usually it takes me a little while to totally decompress. Probably what always happens is the very beginning of the vacation, of the break time, I can't stop. So like the first week, I'm usually very involved doing a sort of a calm preview for myself of everything I'm going to be doing in the coming season, whether it's old or new, whatever, doesn't matter. I create this endless playlist in my iTunes and just put that folder on and just sort of absorb by osmosis or leaf through scores and whatever. And then I can shut down after a bit, after a little decompression time. And then after I've shut down, then maybe I'm not really listening to much of anything, unless it's 70s funk. And then I'll pick it all back up and dig into all of those details before too long, and be working on the new season's material around the clock.
Well, I know you've got a rehearsal upcoming, and I know you've got a presentation today, so we're going to let you roll along. But I hope that you will come back during your vacation time this summer and come on Artsbeat Radio, and maybe bring your friend Lola with you.
Well, okay, but I'm sure we can make that happen this summer.
That'll be terrific.
And Peter was saying my phone battery was dying. I was just saying I've changed receivers since then. I said, but this is kind of interesting because I never talked to anybody this long. So I would never know that the battery is actually getting low, because it always suffices for the 30-second conversations I usually have on my actual landline. You're the only person I talk to on the landline, come to think of it.
I feel very honored. Kevin, thanks for joining us. And for those of you listening, we are going to take a break for some underwriting announcements. We'll be back with the musician and actor James Barry, so don't go away.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Wally Computer Associates, one of the largest technology providers in North America. Headquartered in Southwick, Wally provides all of the products and services that you'd expect from a world-class technology partner to schools, colleges, businesses, as well as state and local governments and agencies. Wally Computer Associates, meeting all of your technology needs. On the web at WCA.com. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Friday mornings is something different on 89.5 FM. It's JP's Talk About Town.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM WSKB, Westfield.
Welcome back, everyone, to Artsbeat Radio here on 89.5 FM WSKB. I'm Mark Auerbach. Starting a week from Friday, May 25th, we go back to Friday mornings for Artsbeat Radio at 8 o'clock every Friday, summer, fall, winter, and spring, and I'm very much looking forward to that. Our first program on Friday, May 25th, will feature Daniel Elihu Kramer, who is the artistic director of the Chester Theater, and also Graham Rowett, who's starring in Church and State, the opening production of Berkshire Theater Group's 90th anniversary season. So you'll want to make sure to tune in for that. We've got some great guests lined up for the summer. We'll be doing a 2-hour special from Berkshire Theater Group. We'll be doing a 2-hour special with the Capitol Steps, all up and coming this summer months. And now our next guest is somebody I've always wanted to talk to. It's the actor and musical director and musician James Barry. I didn't know much about James Barry's work, although I'd seen him in a couple of plays at Chester Theater and at Berkshire Theater Group. But last summer, the opening production was the musical $1 Million Quartet, and it just blew me off my feet. I mean, it was just musically exciting. It was beautifully staged. The performances were one of a kind, and James Barry was the director.
It was in a perfect theater for it, too.
It was. It was so wonderful.
Perfect.
So I found out that James Barry was working on other music thanks to the modern technology of Facebook, and reached out to James, and he's here with us this morning. Thanks for getting up so early, James.
Oh, I've been up since 6:30. It's my pleasure.
Okay. What came first for you, the acting or the music?
Wow. Well, I think as a fan, music was first in my life. The Beatles were my earliest obsession, I think. 3-year-old memories of getting lost in the LP cover art with the giant puffy 70s headphones on. And then, but as far as my own pursuits, in elementary school, after the first school play, that was it. The bug bit me, and I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And then I got a little older, and I started playing guitar. So I've been, I guess artistically serving two masters as long as I've been able to.
I know that you've been concentrating mostly on theater lately, but you've done a lot of musical theater with $1 Million Quartet, and you've been with that show for a long time.
Yes, I have. Yeah, it's wonderful. I'm doing it right now. I did 2 years of the national tour when that was out, and then I've been doing it regionally since, 2015, pretty nonstop.
So when you took a break from performing in it to direct it at Berkshire Theater.
Yeah, that was such an amazing experience for me. Berkshire Theater Festival and Kate McGuire gave me my first professional theater jobs, the summer I turned 21. And to return there, was it something like 18 seasons after I debuted on the Unicorn stage, making my professional directing debut was an extremely special thing for me.
What was the show that brought you to Berkshire Theater in the first place?
It was a play called The Einstein Project, and they produced it twice, and I was in it both times. We did it in the Unicorn in the summer of 2000, and I played Heisenberg. And then we did it again in the Fitzpatrick main stage maybe 6 or 8 seasons ago.
And you're now a Berkshire's Western Massachusetts resident, correct?
Yes, we actually closed on our house on Monday.
Where about are you, in North County or South County?
We're all the way north. We're up in Williamstown.
So, living here and working here, and then working all over the country, what attracts you to the Berkshires of Western Mass?
Well, a lot of things. The arts community is really, really vibrant, and there's no denying the bucolic beauty of the area, which I love to revel in. And it's a place that I've been coming and had so many positive creative associations with pretty much my entire adult creative life, beginning with that job in the summer of 2000 at the Berkshire Theater Festival. Group. I'm still getting used to calling it that, at the Unicorn. And it's where my wife, actress Tara Franklin, she's from the Berkshires. So we've always spent time here, and it just sort of made sense in a lot of ways.
Is it easy for the two of you, and I know you perform together sometimes, but you're both performing in a lot of the theaters. Is it easy for you to make the Berkshires your base, or do you need to find work outside of the Berkshires in order to live here?
Well, we've needed to find work outside of anywhere we've ever lived. So we decided we might as well have, keep coming home to a place we really wanted to on our terms. I'm in Lancaster, Pennsylvania at the beautiful Fulton Theater right now doing $1 Million Quartet. I'll be at Maine State Music Theater in Brunswick, Maine doing it in June. I'll be at the Cape Playhouse in Dennis, Mass. In July doing it. So I never stop leaving home to work, which doesn't get any easier as our son gets older. But, it's I'm just really glad that we live in a place now because we really want to live there, not because we feel like we have to be in the heartbeat of the action of New York anymore to be a viable contender in the industry.
Now you make
sort of a beauty of getting older.
Yeah. You've just released a recording, which you were very kind enough to send to me, and
it's my pleasure.
How long did it take you to produce this, and where can people find it?
Okay, cool. Well, I'm selling it on Etsy, which is a little bit unusual, I guess, for music, or maybe not. If you want the physical, tangible, hot pink vinyl LP, you can find it on Etsy.com, ETSY, and it's Jamesberry Music is the name of my shop on Etsy. It's $15, and actually now through June 30th, I'm donating 100% of my proceeds. So it's $15 to buy the record, and it's $5 shipping. So all $15 of profit I'm giving to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention through the end of June. So if you want a physical copy of it, it's there. It's also streamable on, all those places. Spotify, you can buy the digital thing on iTunes. And if you do get the record, it comes with a digital download code so you can have it on your phones and devices and all that.
How did you choose what pieces of music you were going to put on a recording? I've always wondered how somebody does that. Are you looking for a mix? Are you looking for original stuff? Are you looking for covers? I mean, what went through your mind when you put the playlist together?
That's a really cool question. I think for me, if it's so rare and precious that I am afforded the time, space, and money and all of those things, converging at the same moment to be able to record, that I only do originals in the studio. I love to do covers, on GarageBand on my computer for fun, for arrangement exercises, and to pay tribute to songwriters I love. But when I really make a real studio recording, it's my own stuff, and I think I try and tell a good story. And I still, I'm old school in the respect that I still think about albums as having sides A's and B's. So I like to have, sort of 15, 20 minutes that feels like one side and 15, 20 minutes that feels like another. And I love thinking about sequencing. I've always enjoyed making mixes. So when it comes to trying to do it with my own music, it's a real treat of a challenge.
When as you put this together and it's out there and you get a chance to take a second look at it and think it through, will you go for a second album? And if you do, what kind of music do you want to put on that?
Wow, another great question. So I don't only record as James Barry. There's another band that I made another record with around the same time I made my solo LP, Embrace Yourself Tonight. We're called Secret Pint, and it's friends that I played music with in Connecticut and Chicago and all over throughout my life. And we get together once every few years and try and make a record, and we're going to do it in Holyoke, Mass. at Ghost Hit, which is a really cool recording facility. So I'm contributing about 5 or 6 originals to what will be an 11 or 12 song album. My friend Sean writing the other half of the songs, and we'll arrange them together with our friend who's a drummer. So that'll be coming out, all original stuff. But I think I am super excited to make another album, a solo album. And, I keep getting torn between, well, do I want to do something even louder, or do I want to, make, is it time to make my Jerry Rafferty record,
Yeah.
I've got a lot of interest.
You said that you're recording down in Holyoke. A lot of us that are involved in the creative economy here in Western Mass, and you and Tara certainly are, I am, and others. Do we have the equipment and the facilities and the people to really create good art here, or do we have to bring people in from New York and L.A. and all of that?
Well, I think we do have a lot of what it takes right in our own backyard. Not to say that I don't want to collaborate with people from all over in an exclusionary way. I want to extend the prospect of collaboration to as many people from as many places as possible. But there is something special about when it comes from the Berkshires not needing that helping hand. I think I see a lot of theaters and places, trying to make their programming more year-round, which is, I think, a really exciting step for the people who really live here. And I see, a vibrant music scene coming up. I mean, North Street in Pittsfield has just exploded with, there's so much good music happening in Mission and Methuselah. My good friends who run Chester Common Table next to the Chester Theater Company, their live music programming is terrific. To say nothing of the stalwarts that have always been in the game, Dream Away and great places like that. One thing I would love to see are practice spaces for bands. That's a hard thing to do. We sort of assume everyone has a house, and I lived in an apartment for my first 2 years, and I was like, how the heck am I going to get a PA and drums and practice with people if I want to do a rock show?
That's true. There is a big need for studio space here throughout the Springfield area, all the way up to Pittsfield.
Yeah, and there's so much cool renovated warehouse space happening. I mean, I feel like North Adams and Springfield and Westfield and Pittsfield would be great places to have more opportunities like that. So maybe that's something I'll see if I can organize with some friends. That would be really cool.
That would be. Are you doing some theater this summer?
Yes, after the next $2 million quartets at Main State and at the Cape Playhouse, I'm doing the Annie Baker's play The Aliens at Chester Theater in August, which I couldn't be more excited about. Working with Daniel Kramer, who you're talking to soon.
Yeah, Chester's has really become a wonderful small chamber theater of sorts.
Man, I just love it.
It's great.
Yeah, and for those of you who are in the audience who don't know, it's really just a wild experience. The dressing room is sort of a curtain with a wall hung up between the town tax collector and the police officer in the basement of the town hall. it's so great. I love everything about it. It's wild.
I had been there a couple of times to see shows and to review shows, but maybe 5 years ago they asked me to do a benefit event for them where they had an author coming in who had written a book about musical theater, and they wanted me to interview the author on stage. And, they said, well, we'll provide you with a, dressing area. You can bring your tux and all that up there. And my dressing room, if you want to call it, was somebody's office. I mean, it was just so incredibly small. But sitting on that stage and doing that event, it's such an intimate space. I mean, you literally can reach out with your hand and almost touch the person in the last row.
Oh, yeah. It's a special place to work. Yeah, and this play that I have the good fortune to do is a play that I have wanted to do ever since I was aware of it, and to be able to co-star with my buddy Joel Ripka, who the Chester audiences I'm sure all know and adore, is going to be a real treat, and to work with Daniel as the director of the piece. So excited, and then I get to co-star with my wife Tara Franklin in The Unicorn in September and October in Pirandello's Play Naked, directed by our friend Eric Hill, and I've got great friends in that cast too. David Adkins is going to be in the show. It's and I didn't know anything by Pirandello except for 6 characters in search of an author. So this is really
I knew nothing. I know nothing about Pirandello other than I've seen his name on a marquee occasionally. But I have to say, from a personal perspective, I am enamored with the work of Eric because we worked together some years ago at Stage West, and I've always been a fan of his directing, and I always love seeing Tara Franklin in anything. She could read the phone book, and I would be very happy. And
tell me about it. Yeah.
What is it like to act opposite your spouse?
Well, we haven't done it that often, to be honest. When we did the John Koldenbach piece Sister Play at Chester a few seasons back, and that was, or a couple seasons back, and that was wild, playing a married couple that isn't us. So it was really cool because we live a good hour from Chester, so the car conversations on our commute were really great. Just trying to get in the heads of these other people, but also bring as much of ourselves that was appropriate to it. It was a really, really super fascinating process, and I think we got to know each other even better. It's really, really cool. This play is going to be very, very different. It's well, you'll see.
Yeah, don't give away the ending.
I won't.
If people, once again, when we end the show today, I'm going to play a segment of music from your new recording, but let people know where they can get that if they're interested.
Oh, absolutely. So if you go to Etsy.com, ETSY.com, and search James Barry Music, you'll see my album. It's called Embrace Yourself Tonight. It's $15 for the vinyl LP that comes with a free digital download code. So you can make a decorative bowl out of the record if you don't have a record player and just have the download code. Or you can buy it on iTunes. It's there. It's streaming on Spotify, all those places. SoundCloud. And it's pink, and it's a lot of fun. And my friend Nathan Lee, who was the sound designer I worked with, a great friend of mine, super talented guy, he did the sound design for the $1 Million Quartet at the Berkshires, and I think he's sound designing most, if not all, of their musicals this coming season. And he's the guy. We recorded it in bedrooms and living rooms and practice spaces across New York City in 2015. So it was a wild process.
James Barry, thanks for joining us here on Artsbeat Radio. Look forward to seeing you in a couple of plays this summer, and hope that maybe later on in the summer you'll join us on Artsbeat Radio, and maybe you and Tara Franklin and I can do a show together.
I would love that, Mark. Thanks so much.
Thanks
for all you do for the arts in the Berkshires in Western Mass.
Thank you so much. That's James Barry. We're going to end today's Arts Beat with his song Heavy Heart from his new recording. And remember that we come back a week from Friday here with Arts Beat Radio. We'll be on Fridays here on in from 8 to 9 with my trusty engineer, Peter Coles. We'll be doing a special from Berkshire Theater Group this summer, a 2-hour special that you'll hear on Patrick Barry's The Westfield News Show and here on Arts Beat Radio. And we'll be up at Cranwell Resort in Lenox doing a 2-hour special with the Capitol Steps, the political satire group. So a lot to listen to this summer. There's a lot of good theater and arts out there, which we hope you'll take advantage of. And if there's one show I could tell you that you really want to see this weekend, it's down at Goodspeed Musicals, and it's called the Will Rogers Follies. Thanks for joining us on Arts Beat Radio. We'll see you a week from Friday.
I've been thinking about my heartbeat. I've been thinking about my heartbeat. The target and the max, the swells and strings and failures, the conditions and attacks. I've been thinking about my heartbeat between the sun and the stacks. Her expenditure's irregular, and I just can't relax. I've been listening to my heartbeat. I've been listening to my heartbeat. It kicks behind my face. I try to stay in tempo, I'm all over the place. I've been listening to my heartbeat, but I just can't make out which signals shine for singles. I'm devoted now. Oh, my heart's only heavy 'cause it's anchored to you, my dear. And the little guy who takes us higher than the troposphere. My heart's only heavy 'cause it's holding the world for you. And my heavy heart is here 'cause my heavy heart is held by the stronger of us two. I've been living with my heartbeat. I've been living with my heartbeat for 35 odd years. Before my time, familiar chimes told for kindred ears. I've been living with my heartbeat. It's been leaping from my reach. My joy is on the mountain, my blues are on the beach. Oh, my heart's only heavy 'cause it's anchored to you, my dear. And the little guy who laughs is higher than the stratosphere. My heart's only heavy 'cause it's holding the world for you. And my heavy heart is here 'cause my heavy heart is held by the stronger of us two.